from the Annual Association for the Study of High Capacities and Giftedness. We want to welcome to this second series of international conferences, Positive Synergies, on high abilities and giftedness in times of COVID-19. This year with the topic, Consequences of Not Identifying. Today I'm introducing you the conference 5 Days to Dance from Wilfried Van Poppel and Amaya Lubeigt, an adventure, a dancing adventure, as an artistic process. They both are dancers, choreographers and artistic directors of a community dance company named the Loopers Dance Together. They are a couple, Dutch and Basque couple that live in Bremen in Germany. They develop different types of projects with all sorts of people trying to find their personal benefit through the artistic dance projects that they hold. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Within 5 days you can do as much as you can do. After these 5 days, 1 week later, you might say to yourself, why didn't we do that? Maybe there was no time for that. Maybe we were not aware at that moment. It's the same in your life. Who of you ever heard about dance theater?
I don't understand success as such. Success is accepting failure. We're all different here, and we're all assessing everyone through the same pattern, and if we don't, we discriminate them. In this society, they teach you that you're valuable when you achieve things, and no, you are valuable for being whoever you are, and you cannot change your structure in 5 days, but you can plant a seed that then it'll grow.
Young people that have the strength and the power to say something.
If people can dance together, they can live together. Hi, good morning. As you have seen in this introductory video, we are dancers, we're choreographers. He is Wilfried Van Poppel, he comes from the Netherlands, and I'm Amaya Lubeigt, and I'm from San Sebastian, Spanish Basque. We live in Germany because here's where we came to dance as dance professionals, and from here, when we've started working with our projects, we've expanded ourselves again and gone more to Spain. I'm going to be speaking a bit more because Spanish is my language, but I'd also like him to tell you what we do in our projects, and he can also speak Spanish, so he will also take part. The first thing I want to tell you is when they asked us to take part in these talks, in these conferences, I was a bit surprised because I couldn't really understand how did our projects fit the way we take dance to the world, mainly to high schools, but also to adults or kids, people of all ages. How could our project support and even feel identified with these people with high capacities and gifted people? First, because I had never heard this terminology, or if I had heard them, I have never approached them to me, or I had never seen anyone close to me. Or in the projects, we don't ask them. We just, each of our participants comes as they are and just dances with us. I've talked a lot to Wilfried, and it's been difficult for me to find the way we could share some information about the projects that could be useful for these kind of people. People who are looking for their identity, who feel that they can't fit very well in the world, but that have some amazing qualities and abilities. I've watched through the videos, the information, the website. I've listened, I've read, and I've realized that we are so close. I feel so identified with these people that have these qualities and these abilities, and not myself. Also him. Maybe there's in the world of art, there's many gifted people. So I thought, yes, it really is worth sharing our community dance world, our project. And maybe it could help someone to feel a bit better. So Wilfried will start. I'd like him to start what our projects are like. I'll try, first of all, to talk everything in Spanish. It's not my language, but I'll try. 5-day dance projects, as you have seen in this trailer, they're amazing. They're brutal projects. They're so full of energy because we start on a Monday morning. And the challenge is that after 5 days, to give a show, to present a show. Around 25, 30 minutes long, maybe even 40 minutes long. In 5 days, working with young people, teenagers, in some time in their life when everything that goes around their body, it's a shame. So it's a huge challenge. It's not difficult times for them. It's not easy times. And the first thing we tell them, throw your shame in the bin. Just throw it away. We want to work with every single person in the theater, in the sport hall, however they are. Not with their attitude. I want to go down to their soul, to what they are. When we start with 70, 80, 120 people in a group, every person is important to us. We want to give them that feeling too, because it's so important that they all feel relevant and they all feel good. We're not going to find who's the best dancer. There's no way we can find that out in 5 days, because the way we dance for all the participants, it's unknown. Sometimes it's weird. Some teenagers say, "What? Is this dance?" And we have to explain that to them too. Because it's also a way you can communicate with your body, to communicate together and work together. In every project, this is something very, very important. Every person has a role, has a value, has a place, and nobody is more or less than any other. Every single one can do their best. When we take a group, for us, it's funny because what we do is community dance is to put a group together, is that all the participants in the group find their place. It could be like a puzzle. It's not more important the piece in the center or the corner. Well, maybe if we eliminate those border pieces in the puzzle, in the jigsaw, but if you need all of them, you can also still see the picture, the image, but we still need those pieces, and that's how we see society. We just need to find the place where everyone feels they fit. And through projects and through art, we're always going to artistic projects. We never go to a project and tell them we're going to work on self-esteem or sociability, social skills. We want you to understand what cooperation is. No, that's boring. Those big words that adults usually say, it's boring. They want to know. Teenagers, they're in a moment where nothing fits in them in general. What they want, they don't, because they don't feel good, what they have to do some things because either they're above or below, because they're pretty or ugly, because they're successful or not successful at all. For whatever reason, it's such a difficult period in their lives. The only thing we want is for them to feel good within themselves, to find their place in that puzzle, that it's an artistic project. We are aware that in an artistic project, especially with community dance, we need people to be the best, at the best of their possibilities. So we ask them not to beat the bushes or to give the minimum just in case. No, please be generous. Give it all. When one is generous, is feeling already much, much better. So people start opening somehow. And very beautiful things happen. But we're not competing to see who is doing better or worse. We don't even do two groups where one looks at the others, hey, but looks nicer than ours, or no, we don't do that. We've got plenty of that, plenty of competition there. We want all of them to find their place within themselves and then together with the rest. So we never ask them, what type of problems do you have? What type of attitude? We just let them express themselves. We let them show themselves in the moment they are. Because if somebody feels really vulnerable in that moment, even if they are highly capable, they are not going to give a step forward. But as soon as they do feel more confident, they can give those steps. And maybe we can help them. Why don't you do this? Why don't you come forward? But maybe in that moment, that person can't, and that's fine. And they feel comfortable there because they can find their place and do their best in their moment and the way they are and the way they feel in that moment of growth, because it's so difficult. And to achieve this artistic moment, because it is an artistic project, and to achieve it, we need that each of them finds their maximum. And we also need them to work together. We all work together when we are working with kids, with 4 classes in the high school, for example, and we mix them all. Suddenly, we're breaking at that moment all the groups, or the friends group, all the little classrooms or little teams within a classroom. So every student is with their body. They feel free to explore, to find another role, another personality. Some are still, yes, free, but some still shameful or ashamed. But none of us, we can't dance for the rest. We can't dance for others. When we tell them, lift your arms, I'm not telling them, don't do it for you. You need to do it yourself. The whole project has to do, everyone has to do what they can and what they do. And as a group, they need to support each other too. And Amaya will explain a bit more there. We're not going to explain the story of the kids, of those teenagers. We don't need it. We need the people as they are in that moment. And when you're looking for self-esteem and socializing, it can be a result after 5 days' work. It can be that someone finds another world by themselves, feels strong, feels good about doing this, supporting that self-esteem. That's a result of the artistic project. That is for us very, very important. What I find that dance, and here through that community dance we achieve, and something that we produce, and dance also produces, and it's very embarrassing at the beginning, and especially when you're in a difficult time. Dance leaves you naked towards whoever is watching you, towards yourself. You don't have a ball, you don't have an instrument, you don't have anything where you're going to show. It's just you and your body with your emotions. And that's quite scary at the beginning. Sometimes kids are very ashamed of not being able to do it right, not just kids, adults even, sometimes even more. Everyone, people, whoever is facing something new, we don't know how we're going to be able to react to it. We are embarrassed, we're a little afraid of it. But as for us, it's something so natural. And when we see them, we don't tell them, we believe in you, as a set sentence. We know you have potential. Well, no, we don't. We don't tell them that. We see it. It's not that we believe it. When a person is with themselves, it's so beautiful that for us, when we're doing the same choreography in one school, another and another, we still feel very emotional when one person, whoever it is, part of that group, is dancing, because it's being so real with themselves that it's always beautiful, always wonderful. And they feel our emotion when seeing them. And when seeing them just as they are in this moment in their lives, not where they could be or where they were or what they will be. Nothing to do with what they have achieved, but really what they are like from their inside, from deep, deep inside. It's something like a very small seed that is trying and growing a little plant, but there's huge resistance, it's not so strong. It doesn't have so much energy to open properly, but we can see them. We can see as kids, just as we do with kids when you feel really emotional and really excited when they give their first steps, because they're not very strong or very wonderful steps, but they are amazing. And we admire these kids and we admire these people. They feel supported, they feel confident, and they feel less afraid of making mistakes, of not getting it right. And they start trying to do it better. And while trying, they are making a huge effort, they're practicing something, and at the end, practicing something leads you to being able to do it. Practice makes perfection, makes you feel that you can do. Success is guaranteed in our projects. Come on, it's unbelievable. But I want these participants to understand that when they make an effort, they achieve success, and not as it sometimes happens in day to day or at school when it's really boring and you're doing things you don't understand or that don't work out well, and you make an effort and it takes you nowhere, and then you fail, or they're telling you that you're not doing it right, or they're looking at you with a funny face, and frustration is so big, it's so painful that you choose to go somewhere else, to take another road. No, but when we tell them, don't worry, keep trying, keep making an effort, keep practicing, and little by little you will find your way. And when you do it, there's a success that is, it's an individual success, but it's a whole group. Being different, each of them, every flower in a garden is different, but together they make a beautiful bouquet. It's a beautiful image. Every color has its place. And they're all shining. So that is something that many people feel good. But we also have to say that when you say they all do the same choreography, same movements, it's not in order to do the same movement all at the same time, perfectly timed and performed. Because sometimes when you see so perfect, you can feel, that's not for me. I was only a tiny part of a big thing. I was like a machine. You made them feel that they're machines, not people. And when they're doing it together at the same time, but each of them with their quality, with their effort, with their touch, it's so beautiful to see. We always say during the project, effort, make an effort, give it there. And when they are doing it, and when we can see that everyone is making their best, and everyone has their own strength, their possibility, their capacity, it's so beautiful. It's amazing. Maybe some people can't do certain steps or certain movement, and they can only make a smaller one, and they're making their effort, and they are in their movement, and it's so beautiful because each of them has a value. Every one of them is a flower with their color, with their quality. This is really good for teachers too, who are looking. They're impressed very often. This girl, this boy, never ever spoke in the classroom, but here they're expressing themselves. They're dancing in front of others. It's not professional dance, but it's present there. It's taking its place, and it's amazing what's happening for 5 years with people that. Sometimes when I tell a person, I want you to do this part, maybe a bit more responsibility. And sometimes the teachers say, oh no, why did you choose that one? That person in the classroom usually doesn't want any kind of responsibility, cannot accept it. And you say, I want that person. And then teachers are amazed. How can it be that this person in this moment has accepted this responsibility? I feel that in the normal educational system, we always love seeing in schools the projects that we do. We see that headmasters and teachers are really so excited to bring the best they can to help them grow in the right place, in the wide place. I guess that's why they call us. Those are schools where they want their kids to grow as people, not just as a product, not just to bring out the results for their marks and their school process, but they want to learn to be people. And these are the ones that call us. And many kids are really out of place. And probably many of these kids belong to these type of people who are really bored with their day-to-day. They know they're learning it for nothing. They're losing their interest on doing things right or even trying them. And they lose their interest because everything is just boring. It's always the same. Every teacher comes, tells you their story, and you have to somehow accept it, understand it, take an exam. But this system, it's much longer. Well, it's the first years, kids are excited in the first years, but then it's really long, really, really long. And how can people, the students, get all that energy and the motivation to carry on? In the last years, we see that motivation comes back again. But in the intermediate years, in the beginning of the secondary studies and in the teenagehood, it's an amazing mess because they're just trying to save themselves the way they can, just to survive. I myself, as the parameter, I was a failure because I used to have, in primary school, I used to have A's all the time. When I got to the secondary school, my family had lots of problems. I started feeling bad. My marks were still good because I made huge efforts, but I felt very lonely. I was a weirdo. That's the way I felt myself. And at some point, that my suffering was so big that I had to give it up. So what would be the fourth year of secondary school, I had to give up. My mom really supported me. Life is has nothing to do with suffering. You need to find your way, and you have to feel fulfilled in your path. I found someone who helped me find myself, to feel good with myself. That was my goal at that time. Between the 14 and 20 years old, I was very much focused in trying to find myself, my inner self, with meditation, with support groups. Life suddenly was beautiful, but it had nothing to do with what was happening at school. And suddenly it was like sailing on two boats, one leg on a boat, one leg on the other, and they would getting further and further apart. And I decided to sail on the one that made me happy, being with myself, being happy, feeling good. Some years later, when I was 20, more or less, and when I tried to be a more normal person, I felt stronger. So I always felt I was a weirdo, I was a peculiar person, out of place. But I found dance, and being able to express myself, I could share my happiness. I could share everything that I had inside. And I found people in the world where the world of dance, there are many unusual people with high sensibility, wanting to do lots of really good things for the world, wanting to join our efforts, our creativity to develop new projects. And there I found many people like us that we've realized that we were not weird people. We just had different objectives, and we've met those objectives. And I studied again, and I really enjoyed it. And somehow I have a feeling that my life is a success, professional and personal success. But in that time, during that time, I was a failure, a school failure, an academic failure. So the big question is, do we really all have to follow the same path? I'm not telling you to give up your studies. Everyone will know what they should be doing, but there's not a straight line in our lives. We've talked very often about our paths, and they have never been a straight line. They've been a bit more like a river going from one step to another. And wherever you give a stop, you find things that enrichen you, that makes you feel stronger, that makes you feel better. You're always heading to the sea, wherever that sea is, and that's where we're going. And that's where the way we're experimenting our life. And with these projects, I think we transfer these kids, we transmit to these kids, also here in Bremen with adults, we also transmit this feeling that life is much more interesting. We can do many different things, and one of them can be just a dance project, for example. Why not? Without any aim of doing anything in particular, just to enjoy something that belongs to you, to use your sensitivity, to move, to feel yourself, to connect with others. It's really impressive. And that's where people feel they can do it and they can enjoy the life and dance. Maybe there's a bit crazy, a crazy example. Okay, what is shame for adults, but also especially for teenagers? Shame, it's strong. Sometimes just move yourself the way you want. And many people can't do that. And when somebody's moving freely and looking, everyone looks at them saying, oh, it's a bit crazy. We are amongst peers and friends, and we can be all crazy because when everybody around us is crazy, who is normal? And that's where they start thinking, if we're all crazy, we're all normal. Yes, that's it. Then we can move ourselves. That way of breaking these barriers, this shame of being, because you're enjoying, hey, I'm moving and I can use my body without having to look at anyone. Oh, that's strange. No, we can do this. And I ask myself sometimes, why are we looking at at other people who are moving themselves and thinking, oh, that's strange. But that person is using their body, the body that they've had for their whole lives. And exactly, I was reading amongst these gifted kids, these people with high capacities, this hypermobility question. I've always been told that I was too active. For us, it was very important to climb trees, to move, to swim, to everything that had to do with our own body was very important for me and for you too, right? Yes, we have a response. We concentrate on our bodies. We stop. We're silent. We're present. And sometimes these kids find it difficult. They don't seem to be able to control their own bodies. But when they start thinking and understanding how they can actually they can stop and put all their energy in themselves and get ready, because that energy is going to be the one that will lead you somewhere. It will take you somewhere. It's using that energy, that movement inside them, but directing it. When I want to direct it, I do it to the maximum of my possibilities, and I want to let it go freely. It goes. And when I want to listen, and I want to listen to myself, because noise is very annoying for us, sometimes even closing our eyes and listening to a bird, listening to silence, they're magic things that we lose, because everything is so crazy and so wild that we lose the sensitivity that we already have, just because we go a little crazy with all this stimulus around us. So in dance, we need great concentration, high responsibility. We need to be very focused to be able to give a lot, to express a lot, to bring it all out. That's why I think that many gifted people feel very much identified. And we've thought very much in kids that we keep in our minds because they've told us things, they've felt things, they've lived things that have stayed in us because they've made us think. How a kid that was in the front line in a school where the headmistress would say, "Come here," because everybody seems to have a very mediocre, very average demand level. But I want to show them that life has more to it. And this kid seemed to be really bored. But when we were there, he worked amazingly. He wasn't a better or worse dancer. He did what he could, just like any other. But somehow he was paying a lot of attention. He was always at the front. He really enjoyed it. He was very involved in the creative process of doing the group choreography that we always do. He was really in the project. He didn't waste his time. He made the most of the whole week. And when I told the headmistress, she said, "Really? In the classroom? He could do much better, but he doesn't seem to show any interest at all. He's actually thinking about giving up studies because he has no motivation at all." And it struck us really, because with us, he was very receptive, he was very active, very much involved the whole week long. And when we did the show, they did the show, and his dad was there, and he was an excellent dancer. And I went to his dad to tell him, we congratulated him for having such an amazing kid. And the father couldn't talk, and his tears rolled down his eyes, his face, because in the moment that kid was, they didn't seem to see any interesting kind of future, and he was losing even his interest. He wasn't motivated at all, but at least knowing that he could do many valuable things in life, he decided to finish school. He finished his high school. I don't know what he's done after that, but he's in my memory because this kid was lost, but in the project he was a very valuable person. In the projects we always bring a topic for the choreography, and we always try to find a very powerful human topic. They need their challenges. They don't want to talk. If you like dancing, it doesn't matter if you're just dancing, but if you don't really like dancing, just for the sake of it, you need a purpose. You need to feel identified with the topic, with immigration, with refugees, with human rights, with slavery, with identity. They're topics that we always bring to the choreography, and they connect at first. Not all kids have it as a priority, because some kids are so lost they don't even understand what is the topic. But for kids who are so sensitive, with so much empathy towards the world and wanting to do important things and not just wasting their time, this is the first thing that makes them connect, knowing that they're doing it for an important purpose. And there, it doesn't matter if it's dance, music, theater, if it's painting, they know they're going to express something, they're going to say something that it's important, and that's where they get at their most. Then their sensitivity, they can use it, they can feel it, they can share it, they can show it. In the projects, they are not usually projects you can choose. Sometimes we can. Kids can choose their project, but at schools they can't choose. If the school has chosen to do it for a certain age group, everybody has to take part in the project. If someone really refuses strongly, but okay, we can accept it, but at least we insist for them to try at least, because the fear for failure for them is too big. So if they are not sure they can do it right, many kids don't even want to risk it. But really they would want to try, and they're not brave enough to say, "Come on, I'll try to do a dance project. Why not?" So when we tell them, "You all have to do it," that's a perfect excuse to try. And many of them are surprised because many of them wouldn't even think that they could enjoy it, and sometimes enjoy it on day 1, sometimes on day 2. Some of them start enjoying it on the last minute. But there's always an evolution. There's always a process. It's a living, and I think that's something that school should bring. Help kids live, really, professional experiences. Sometimes tell us, oh, it's been a professional level and I liked this. High standards. They don't want to do just anything. They're afraid of not being able to reach the level, but if the professional takes them to their world, they feel as professional as the expert in front of them, and that makes them feel good. And that's what we would like to offer. If there's people who want to do our projects, there are many, many possibilities, and they're very much welcome. Yes, there's great words to finish. We always say thank you for inviting us, thank you for letting us take part in this symposium, these conferences. And now for the end, we're going to show you a video from a school that took part of the documentary 5 Days to Dance, and they asked the kids to share their experience. This is the last video you will see. It's just their expressions of what they've lived. And with this, we thank you. And if you want to contact us, there's a website, there's an email, and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much. The main characters of 5 Days to Dance. You already know the story. And they know the story and they want to share it with you. This has been a very important experience for me and for my colleagues. I wasn't sure it was going to work out. I never had imagined to take part in this project. They've shown us that every person has a huge potential. We've been able to share this week, everybody here. We've come together. We've seen things in people that we hadn't realized before. From the first day, it's been really tough to express ourselves, to be there, to be out of our cage. It's only been 5 days, but they've been very intense. We've done amazing things that I never thought we could have done. We've laughed, we've enjoyed ourselves, and I've realized that with will, with effort and working as a team, we can do whatever we want. Help us the message get everywhere.